Good morning, world. If you didn't watch our last video, it was a light-hearted video for the most part about how cancel culture canceled comedy.
And the irony that it was canceled in certain countries.
Yes, it was, but it was for different reasons.
Yes, yes.
We did violate some copyright laws, but we knew we would because we wanted to put some fun clips, and if you haven't seen it, there's some good, fun clips of comedians of the past.
Absolutely.
But this episode isn't so lighthearted. I'm sure all of you have seen the story about Cannon Hinnant, the little 5-year-old boy who was murdered by his neighbor. And this episode isn't about that per se. It's about my reaction to what I've been seeing on social media because it frustrates me, and the lack of self-introspection for the people who post these memes is just, I just had to say something about it. So
I agree. So stay tuned. We'll be talking about that when we come back. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian, and this is Cedric and Brian.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Again, we're going to talk about the 5-year-old boy, Cannon Hinnant, who was murdered in North Carolina by his neighbor, Darius Sessions. And again, this is a more somber topic for us, but this really resonated with Brian and I, being parents ourselves. But Brian, what did you see that made you want to talk about this today?
Yeah, so I know it is getting, news now, but at first it took a while for the media to kind of catch up with this. And we all know the reasons. The little boy was white, the assailant, or the murderer, was black, so it kind of had to be picked up eventually.
Right.
So it's out there. So we're not saying, the media's not covering this, because obviously the media is covering it. But what I am saying, and I'm seeing this from people on social media, and I'll put this up on the screen right here. So this is something that says things Trump supporters would say. It's a guy wearing a MAGA hat who says, "What about that boy who was killed? Where are the protests for him?" And then of course, there's a little dog who's supposed to represent, I guess, common sense. It said, "Did they catch the guy who did it? Yes. Did they arrest him and charge him? Immediately. Is he going to jail? Forever. So what would you need to protest for?" Now and then it's like, a light bulb moment for this MAGA supporting guy. But what is so ironic on this is that, yes, all we wanted was some media attention because guess what? George Floyd. Did everybody agree that that was wrong that he died?
Absolutely.
Yes. Did the person who did it, was he charged?
Yes.
Yes. Is he probably going to go to jail? Yes. So what is there to protest for? People who post this, do they even know what they're posting?
Right. And I'm having a hard time with this because it's become that polarizing black versus white thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, especially in our case, both of us being dads, a 5-year-old boy lost his life to something senseless. And this is a hard one to swallow.
Yeah. We weren't saying we need to go protest on the streets. That's not what we're saying. We just wanted to shed light on it and show the hypocrisy. Because Cedric and I haven't been just pointing this out. If you've watched our past videos, we put the pictures up of all these young kids, the 7-year-olds, the 8-year-olds, the 13-year-olds, and we're going to go through that. They were all killed during this time of protesting. And you know what? I'm tired of using that term, protesting.
Right.
The riots.
The riots. I got into a little, not a verbal disagreement, but a little. Normally, Brian, the one who likes to engage with people on social media, and I try and refrain from it. But one, I don't know if it was a man or a woman, reached out to me and said, "What about all the black people that President Trump called thugs?" I said, "Well, are you referring to the people in Minnesota who were rioting and looting?"
Yeah.
I said, "The reason that the black and white people and Hispanics and Asians who were called thugs is because they were engaged in thug activity."
Yeah. And it's so disingenuous for people to throw these terms that Trump says out of context, because it's insulting for people like Cedric or all of the supporters out there that are people of color that support Trump. They understand. How come they can understand who he's talking about, but other people can't?
Well, I wouldn't say the individual. I'm glad I did. I said, "You're the racist person because when you heard the word thugs, you automatically assumed that he meant blacks."
Yeah, exactly. So, it's just been everything's been taken out of context, but we wanted to point out, let me put all of these pictures up. What do all of these kids and teenagers have in common? They're not all the same color. Can you guess? All the people who did the killing were black. So therefore, you will not see this in the media.
No.
So not only do we want to just put these kids on the screen, I believe they deserve to have their names heard.
Soria Turner, 8-year-old girl. Turner was shot and killed on the 4th of July after at least 2 people in a crowd opened fire on the car she was in with her mother and her mother's friend. Brandon Hendricks, 17 years old. Hendricks was shot and killed June 28th in the Bronx just days after graduating high school. He was at a barbecue and was allegedly shot by Najim Luke, who was charged with murder, manslaughter, and criminal possession of a weapon.
Angela Walker, 15-year-old. Walker was shot once in the head Saturday and later died at the hospital. The boy was a high school student athlete on the football team.
Raheem, last name is not given, 15 years old. Raheem was shot 17 times on June 22nd outside a store where he was shopping to get food after playing basketball with his friends.
Antonio Mays Jr., 16-year-old. Mays was shot and killed in a shooting near the Seattle Chop on June 30th.
Devon Mcneal, 11 years old. McNeil was shot and killed in Southeast District Columbia on the 4th of July after police say a group of 5 males opened fire, shooting McNeil in the head and then fleeing by vehicle.
So those are just the ones that they released the names of.
And we don't want to be those people that pit news outlets against each other. You know, and I know what you mean. There are some, and we won't say some of the major players' names, but every news channel has a slant to it, or has an agenda. But it's when a life is taken, when a 5-year-old child's life is taken, and it doesn't receive any attention, you have to wonder, what is your job as a news channel if you're not reporting this?
Yeah, because it doesn't anger the right people.
Yes, if you're not promoting with the same veracity and intensity that you do others.
Yeah. And all these, and I'm sure some of these people that you see here, and I don't have pictures for all of them, this was a month ago. And so we're another month in, so I'm sure the numbers are even higher. But as of, I think it was July 8th, 16 children had been shot and some killed across the U.S. cities since the George Floyd riots. I mean, so here we are, mourning and rioting the death of one man. We've all admitted that it shouldn't have happened,
right.
But it was one life of a man who was a 9-time offender who was not a good guy. These 16 children were innocent people. They weren't resisting arrest. They weren't firing at the cops. I mean, some of the stuff that's happening now, that just happened this past weekend, because unfortunately you can't turn on the news now without a weekend without a bunch of kids or people dying. This last one was another one that they're protesting because another black man was shot by the police. But what did he do before he was shot? He fired a gun at the police. So none of these 16 kids did anything remotely like that, and they're all dead, but nobody seems to care. We only care if it happens to be a cop, and especially if it's a white cop. Whether it was a justified killing or not, which a majority of them are justified, because these are criminals that are doing criminal behavior. I know white people are afraid to talk about anything that has to do with racial situations, because then you're just termed a racist.
Right.
So Cedric, he's the brave one. He steps up and he calls this stuff out. And he's still called a racist, but how does that work?
No, I'm not a racist.
I know, but
I'm an Uncle Tom.
We know this is a sad, horrible situation. We're not trying to make this a political statement, but when I saw that meme that I brought up at the beginning, I don't even want to call it hypocrisy, because it's just like the lack of self-awareness that these people post this stuff is mind-boggling. It's like they don't understand. All the riots are going on with a guy we already know shouldn't have died at the hands of somebody who's going to be who is already arrested and is probably going to go to prison.
I just can't wait till the election's over, because I think once the election's over, BLM will go away and we will find a cure for COVID.
Yeah.
Right around November 4th, that stuff will just happen.
So we do have some good news for you. Cedric and I reached a milestone.
it was fun little milestone. It's we were both kind of watching the numbers, although we told ourselves not to watch the numbers. But we finally reached 1,000 subscribers, which is kind of. I told some close friends of mine about that, and they're like, "There's 1,000 people out there that want to listen to what you guys have to say." I said, "Yeah, because there's some smart, intelligent people out there like you guys watching." Who, like Brian said, we share the same lens, and it's good to know that there's other people out there who share your viewpoints, and you're not. Sometimes you feel like you're the only one who feels like that way. You're the only one in the battle, so it's kind of comforting to know there's others like who think like me. But so thank you for all you guys who help us reach that milestone. I guess the next milestone is 1 million, 1 million subscribers. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. I think we'll tease you next time because what did happen in the news, and we did put it on our TikTok, is about the new VP pick, which is already old news, but we might still have some fun with it. Who knows what's going to happen? She might actually be the presidential pick by that point.
I think she will be. All right, you guys. Hope you like, subscribe, ring the bell, and like I always say, make sure you share this video with all your family, friends, and everybody else out there, and say, hey, listen to Cedric and Brian. They think like us, and they're on the ball some of the times. But until next time, you guys be safe out there. Take care of each other. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. See you later.